Tracy, let me go over to the YouTube live streaming section just to make sure we're up live. Okay, we're live. All right. This meeting is being live streamed, so I just learning how to deal with this after merging two YouTube accounts together. First and foremost, I want to thank everybody for joining us on HISadvocates Q&A session. We do this every other Monday, where we hold a live Q&A for people that are interested in coming to live in the private, and for existing members. And if we don't have a lot of people on that are existing members, that's a good statement that says we're handling them on our customer support system on the back office. So I'd like to give the back office a round of applause. That means you guys are doing a great job. So we do have some pre-submitted questions today. You're going to hear me record and unrecord and record and unrecord. It just simply means that we're creating individual videos that we're going to post up and break it down later for people, because sometimes I do a little bit of a rant on some of these individual videos. But first, we're getting a lot of new YouTube subscribers. We've had about 1,200 in the last 28 days. We're planning on a lot more, and we're doing some good marketing and some different things to help that along. But I'm asking, because of the nature of the volatility of the different social media account platforms, that if you're new to this account, below this account or below, make sure I got it posted really quick. And edit the video. Give me a second, guys. This is important stuff. I want to make sure you guys have the ability to come in and post immediately anything that's so you can follow. This is a big thing that's going on right now in respect to accounts being shut down, and I want to make sure you guys have the ability to follow us, like us, subscribe to us, all that stuff. So I'm editing the video. If you, yeah, it's actually already down below the video. Good. So if you go down below the video, the first word is freedom. That's the most important thing for all of us. Text that right now. Just take a minute, grab your phone, dial 855 on your text, 855-452-0499, and type the word freedom. This will give us the ability to get you guys notifications of when we go live on different events. Secondly, download the app. We have an app on Android and iPhone called HISadvocates. One word, might be two words, I don't know. Just HIS Advocates. And download the app and accept to receive notifications. And the third thing is join us at hisadvocates.org. HISadvocates.org. Join us. That gets us your email. So those three things, if this channel, and we've already lost this channel with 16,000 subscribers, if this channel goes down, this is our way to get you to the new channel and get you to watching us again and getting notifications. So much appreciated. HISadvocates.org. Join, gets us your email. Text freedom to 855-452-0499 and download our HISadvocates app. So here we go. First question. If our private foundation records a deed for real estate in a different state than where ours is located, we believe that will effectively unregister the property in the county where it is located and remove it from the property tax rolls. Is that correct? Wondering why either state would permit to do this. Why does that work? Well, we never said it worked. What we said was, if you're going to transfer something wholly through a deed of trust, number one, I know you guys, and I know what we did for you guys on the deed, on the private side element. So you did a recordation of a deed with meets and bounds. That's land, for valuable consideration, by gold, by hand. So you took the Federal Reserve notes out of the equation. They're not a party to the transaction. And here's an important thing to understand. What you did was you recorded it in the county recorder's office. So you've got an original deed back, and what you're basically holding is a recorded deed or transaction from the county. So the first thing I would do is ask the county, because you recorded it fee simple, you didn't record joint tenants or tenants in common. And I know personally people that are recorded as fee simple on their land, and they don't have any tax rules, they don't have anything with the county. That doesn't mean a county isn't going to try to assess a tax on a piece of land that's locally recorded, but that's not your question. I'm just trying to give you a lot more insight to think this thing through. So number one, you're recorded privately. You're not registered because of the style of the deed. What I mean by style, you didn't use a legal description, you didn't use your registered organization name, you didn't use, meaning an LLC or your personal name. You didn't use Federal Reserve notes, and you didn't record joint tenants in common, and you didn't mail the deed, meaning from just all the tenants of private versus public. That's it. And so now on the private deed that you recorded and didn't register because of the style of the deed, like if you're registering it, it's plain and simple. You know, you're going down, and here's the nuances of recordation versus registration. You have a registrar at the recorder's office, right? And that's simply public and private. Registrar is somebody who doesn't know how to fill out a deed, and they do a legal description above land. That's territory owned by the federal government, and that's plain and simple. Joint tenants, you're a tenant admitting that you don't own the property, that the state owns the property, or maybe the bank at the time of that you have a loan. And so somebody that isn't recording a proper private side deed is actually registering their property by recording it, showing that we're handing you, the state, the property because of the style of the recordation. Do you understand? So what you have done is effectively record your property, and maybe the state has not moved it from the tax rolls, which is what you're saying. So the next question is, how do you get it private away from the county recorder's office from a standpoint of tax rules? There's a bunch of different ways to affect that. Now, I've already discussed that and exhausted that in hours and hours of conversation. And that is not always an easy answer because of the different counties that do different things. And this is why we don't personally do it, because we'd have to go look up every statute in every county in order to figure out whether we're going to pull it out of the county recorder. Because you can, by the way, not record a transaction in the county recorder and keep the transaction private. So here's to your question specifically, but I'm trying to address more. Your question is, recording something in another county doesn't do anything as far as this county is concerned. Okay, so recording something in another county where you maybe are selling it to the foundation, meaning a private trust over here in where you're at. You make a sale, you do the private deed, and then you're saying record it in another county, and that's going to automatically remove it from the tax rolls. No. What I was saying is what I would do is I would put it in another county, in another state, or just in the public. Okay, now you can put something in the public in a number of ways, and then you serve the local county constructive notice. You will not be recording this or registering this in their local county. And to have the property removed from the county recorder's office, it is not your wish to record or register the transaction. Now, at that moment, there's any number of things that the county is going to respond with. Maybe they just simply remove it. That's happened. Maybe they simply say, no, you're not allowed to do that, which that nobody can force you to record or register anything. I'm a real estate broker. That's one of the questions on the exam. So at that moment, you're going to be like, okay, the county is going to respond any number of ways. And this is why it's difficult to say, okay, what do we do? This is an hour-long conversation. Well, if they do this, we do this. If they do this, we do this. If they do this, we do this. And so we've addressed that. We'll send you some links that maybe you can answer each one of those specifically. But we don't know their response. And I believe you've already recorded the private side deed in the county. And I had told you before that you need to ask them to remove the property from the tax rolls as it is private, fee simple, and as it is a church, recorded as a church. And so those are the elements that you want to try first, and then get back to us on responses. Okay. All right. If the property is eventually sold, are we creating a problem for our heirs? Because a title company or others might not find the public record or the deed in a different state. Absolutely not. As a matter of fact, all deeds are notarized. All deeds are just because you're recording something in a different state doesn't mean anything. Yes, local counties have classifications of the types of styles of recording, miscellaneous, real estate, whatever. What you're essentially doing is putting something in the public somewhere else. And you have a deed that's completely notarized, completely handled. And then you have instructions in your foundation, like an operating agreement with what's going to happen to that deed. So whether it's recorded in another state or simply unrecorded, like a counter deed, it has no bearing what any state or any title company is going to be able to do or say over that land, period. Just have good instructions under the operating agreement within the foundation, because the foundation is continuing to live, continuing to run, and your kids will simply now control that deed. Next question. Is the debt-free property still largely protected from government confiscation, having had its deed corrected with the 5 deed points contained in the correction and having been recorded and registered under the foundation? You just recorded it and register. Remember, the element of registration is showing them on a recording that everything on the deed belongs to them. So it's essentially registering on a public side recording. Either the foundation name, but not, and maybe never going so far as unrecord or unregister it. So big confusing question. I guess you're asking, are you asset protected? Because the property is now owned and controlled by an unregistered private foundation that cannot be served, that cannot be brought into court, cannot be audited. The answer to the question is you're pretty rock solid for being bulletproof as you sit with doing nothing. Confiscation, who are they going to serve? And I had this debate with an attorney one time. It was hilarious. And he went down the hill road of trustee law. I'm like, it's not a trust. He said, well, it's the elements of a trust. He said, no, it's not a trust. I said, it's church, and and it got down to all these things about court. And I said, let's just step back. Why are you even talking about court? You haven't even served us yet. What do you mean? And because we were going back and forth how you would take a foundation and confiscate the assets within a foundation. And the answer was, there's no way. Why? You have no idea who to serve or where to serve or how to serve, period. And how do you publicly serve something that isn't public? It's private. It's unregistered. You can't even name it in a court case because you have to show the state has jurisdiction over the entity. Boom, checkmate. Okay, next question. Can properties already in a foundation but still recorded and registered at the same in-state courthouse whose SSM earnings are taking rental donations from the properties, wanting to make use of county government services via paying county property taxes, become a cause to knock on the officiating directors out of the private state? Brother, that question is absolutely confusing. I think you're asking, because your foundation is recorded in the county recorder, the deed is recorded in the county recorder, and because you were still utilizing, meaning paying property taxes and utilizing the trash, water, whatever the county is offering for services for the tax, you are asking, is that cause for a knock from officiating directors out of the private state of the union jurisdiction? I'm going to ask, why would there be a knock? Why would there be an intrusion? Why would there be a question? Why would there be anything? You are simply registered or recorded, in your local county with that private deed owned by the foundation name. Even if you're utilizing the county for services, how is that jurisdiction over the foundation? Do you understand what I'm saying? There is none. And so that's why we teach you to do what we do. It's an element of how do they know who to serve? They're going to look up the foundation and all the different state addresses, and they're not going to be able to find it at any Secretary of State's office. For a corporation, they're not going to find it under any DBA anywhere. And that's just the bottom line. There are some things and elements that attorneys can do to be sneaky, but there's no, because of your style, all you did was record a deed how it should be recorded. That's it. Every deed prior to like 1967 was recorded this way. It's only been in the last 50 years that they've been trying to traverse people into a jurisdiction that is handing the property over to the state. Why HJR 192? The banks own everything, and they're trying to give you a semblance of ownership. And this is why they created the registration versus recordation. This is why GLO went to Bureau of Land Management. This is why all these things that people just don't understand. It's a new world order takeover of everything, and they have to show that they have jurisdiction over things. And a legal description is 100% jurisdiction. Doing anything with an FRN, Federal Reserve Notes, 100% jurisdiction. Those are elements that cause them to be able to be a party to a transaction. What we have done is completely stripped you from being a party to a transaction. Yes, recorded, unregistered, but it doesn't necessarily grant jurisdiction. And all you're doing is paying for services if you're still paying property taxes. I hear you, but it'd be extremely difficult for confiscation ever over your land. Okay, we're going to move to the Q&A section. Give me a sec. It's kind of warm in here. Oh. Sorry, guys. What kind of platforms should be used for stocks through the foundation? How is the structure of being set up different than norm, i.e. not through the foundation? Okay, so everything is done in an application. Like you can go almost anywhere, TD Ameritrade, you can go almost anywhere to set up. And how we would do it personally is because they don't name a foundation is a type of a trust where God is a grantor, Yeshua is the beneficiary, and you are the executive director, but it's not a trust necessarily, but it is a type of formation of a trust where you're an executive director in management of everything that's belongs to Yeshua. PMA is almost the same thing. A uniform, unincorporated business trust, almost the same thing. They're all forms of private membership associations. The term PMA is like a loose term that kind of all encompasses churches and UBTs and different elements of being a private club for people that want to turn their private or public business into a private enterprise. And so to answer your question, you can go almost anywhere, but it's in the style of the way that you do the application, number one. If you do the application, take it into serious consideration that you want to make some adjustments to the application that would reflect the private side and the way that you're filling it out. And you would want to check certain boxes. So if you have those types of questions, go to hisadvocates.org. We help people that are VIP members. We help people that have purchased foundations with us to support them to get accounts open to be able to trade. Get crypto accounts open to be able to trade, get bank accounts open to be able to cash in that stuff. So very helpful. What is the difference between notice to principal and notice to agents, notice to agent, notice to principal under the in uppercase versus all caps? There's really depends on the word, depends on how it's been dictionary defined from a standpoint of capped versus lowercase, which I can't answer because I haven't looked up those words in a dictionary. However, the term that you're asking about from a specific a response to what does it mean? It means there's a respondeat superior that is responsible for his sub people. So notice to the principal respondeat superior, which is why we always notice the person that has the oath of office. That is a very important thing. You're noticing the person that has the oath of office, and he is known as the respondeat superior. So notice to the principal is the same thing as notice to agents. Notice agents is notice to principal. Why? Because he is responsible for all the people that work for him. Has anyone at Caleb and Brown gone through the LPP process? Yeah, everybody that we know that we're sending, we've sent them hundreds. What should be carried, taken with when traveling, not driving, i.e., no license, registration, insurance? Well, I don't travel that way. So you have no license, registration, or insurance. Why? Want to be a sovereign citizen? Or do you want to apply, reserve all your rights, and not hassle any of it and control the narrative? And if you ever get a ticket, you call 1-800-tickets and you give them $99 and they go to court for you and battle your deal. Why do you want to? Let me just stop. I just want to say, I talked to, and this is a sad fact. We fail for lack of knowledge. All these contracts are completely doable as a state citizen with full reservations, fully secured. And people don't get that. And I have a client, stubborn woman, 78, 79 years old, arrested 17 times 2 years ago. Why? Because she's stubborn and she wants to drive without a license. And now she's probably got 10 counts of driving on a suspended license. I'm not laughing, but when I was a kid, I did 50 days for 3 counts. 50 days. I was in jail for 3 counts as a young man, 18 years old. So I don't teach that because there is absolutely no need for that. The entire living in the private program, you're looking at a bunch of adhesion trusts. And so I'm going to stop here and I'm going to answer the next question was, what is an adhesion trust? What is an adhesion trust? It is basically your SSA, Social Security Administration, IRS, 1040s. You're the only one signing it. IRS is the grantor. IRS is the beneficiary. You're the taxpayer, trustee, liability, U.S. citizen. My point is, driver's license, state is the grantor, state is the beneficiary. You're the trustee. You're the liability. You're the, in persona, getting an identity where 2 or more things are becoming one. And there's just simple methods of being able to get these documents. And I'm not saying this is going to work forever, but it works right now. Because there's going to come a point where they're going to say, or you're not going to be able to get a license. And you're going to go, okay. And we're going to have to be operating smarter than them in cars where we've got the title returned to us, meaning the MSO. And those are a different conversation, different element, different period of time. And maybe in a couple of years, 3 years, who knows? So if I were to travel and I didn't have those things, I would have a passport ID card and I would have a international driver's license. And I would have a bond for insurance purposes. And it would be an indemnity bond against the name, and it would allow for me to travel lawfully and legally without granting jurisdiction. But I don't do that. I have the state IDs fully done as a private state citizen. I hope that helps. I know it's hard to understand. It's all in how you fill out an app. It's all in how you sign. It's all in how, you do things. Okay, next question. What is the insurance form through AAA for insurance on a foundation-owned vehicle registered in South Dakota? You want me to cite the form? I don't work for AAA. I can help you though. It's not okay. The foundation owns my vehicles in South Dakota, doesn't matter where. And the insured namee is the all caps name, is the registered organization. The element of having business insurance in the foundation name is not what we're trying to get accomplished. What we're trying to get accomplished is that the registered organization is in fact insured, and even you don't need to be insured as the namee on the insurance policy. People don't know this. When you insure a vehicle at the insurance company, your girlfriend, your mom could be the named insurance. And the reason why, it's because it's basically all insurance is not operators based insurance, it's car insurance. That's why they call it car insurance. The insurance is going on the vehicle. And so that's why when they write a policy with the name of, say, your mom on the policy, or your sister on the policy, or your girlfriend on the policy, or Joe Sixpack down the street on the policy, they would specifically have to remove your name, meaning you would have to sign off. The policy holder would have to sign off on you being a non-insured driver. Otherwise, anybody that is not named as a non-insured driver on that policy is fully insured on the car. So you can actually have insurance at AAA or any number of insurance companies and get it in somebody else's name per se. They may not like it so much because they may become liable or a party to a lawsuit for your accident or what have you. But if you really want the full, not even a name anywhere, that's the way I would do it. But having your name and doing a reservation of rights on a policy where the foundation is the lost payee, meaning the owner of the car, is very doable and all day long with multiple insurance companies. Does the Supreme Court use Black's Law as valid, reliable law reference? And if so, do they treat it as valid application in court cases? So Black's Law is a reference to the Supreme Court's definitions, opinions, memorandums, whatever, from issued by both state and federal Supreme Courts as to the lawful meaning of a word. I would presume that they would have to utilize that as a quick reference to what the legal definition of a particular word would mean. However, I would have to cite that the Supreme Court kind of makes policy and law up in their mind as they go. So I can't tell you what they do. I don't follow pedophiles and or what they do. I'm not saying all of them are, but I know one of them is for sure, and he's running it. So I can't really say what they do. The only reason why I say that is because there's pictures of him with Jeffrey Epstein, and there's logs with him on the plane ride to Jeffrey Epstein's island. So I'm going to presume he's a pedophile. And based on his actions with the previous president, I'm going to make a big presumption that I'm right, but I could be wrong. Next question. All right. Is the passport application alone without the card or book enough to prove no jurisdiction under a U.S. court? That's a great question. You're the first time anybody's ever asked that question. That's a great question. So it's when you apply, like there's people with issues on whether or not they can get a passport, whether or not they want one even. But it's the presumption of an application. Your application, whether denied or not, your letter of denial is going to have a specific reason as to why. It's going to say taxes, it's going to say child, whatever, but it's not going to say specifically to your application. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, they'll cite that, and then you overcome that. But my point for saying that is, It's as arguable as, even if they were to deny you for child support, it didn't mean they denied you for being a state citizen. So my point is, it's arguable that you could order a certified copy of the application that you in fact submitted, and do the LPP process, and that would substantiate your ability to prove your status and desire to be a state citizen and register that with the Department of State. Now, on that note, people with child support, I have a personal issue. I think anybody has a right to travel. I have a personal issue with people that don't pay their child support. And at the same time, I do understand there's a lot of people that have been robbed of their rights as fathers, and there's a lot of sticky areas there. There are things that we can do to help people out with arrears, or we've had people with $1 million tax liens get passports. Just FYI. Not saying it works 100% of the time, but there's certain things that we do different that helps. Okay, next question. I don't think I'll be able to renew my driver's license, so traveling may be my only recourse as I'm going through the LPP and revoking my driver's license. Is there any way to sign up through the DMV for a new driver's license without giving jurisdiction? Well, there's not only a way to sign up with the DMV without giving them a driver's, meaning without giving them jurisdiction. That's easy. The element of you're being able to privately have a name change and then potentially going to get a passport and then driver's license is still at play with a new birth certificate, new name on there. There are people doing it. I'm not saying what a state's laws are as required for disclosure purposes, but there's people all over the world that have figured that one out, and just keep that in mind. But you can keep full jurisdiction intact with a license in your wallet. I have one. And I have a broker's license, full jurisdiction intact. An international driver's license is only valid when accompanied with a state driver's license. I don't know who told you that, but I don't believe that is accurate. I'm not going to rebut the presumption of a police officer's desire to enforce something, but there's people that need international driver's licenses that come to this country and do not have a state driver's license. But I will tell you, the driver's license is how they gain jurisdiction over everybody, is that unbelievable desire to need your face on a permit to travel within a state. It's pretty amazing how they've done it. Has Timothy D been released yet? Timothy D, do you mean Tim Turner? Tim T? If you do, I don't think he has, but it's imminent. And I can't wait. I got another question. How do we sign up for a state driver's license without giving jurisdiction? We pretty much have addressed that on other questions, but it's all in how you sign, and what is your signature and what isn't your signature, and reservations. There's some people that say you can't do reservations, and we've stood there for 4 hours and they've called legal and went up and down, and we still got the reservations done. I just teach people to sign non-assumptive in cursive, and non-assumptive. And the only reason why I say that is the element of the words are he did not undertake, meaning no contract. And so remember, we're doing this because they are defrauding people on these adhesion trusts to taking on liability that they shouldn't be taking on. meaning if you look at and first and foremost, like number one, you're not allowed to travel in an automobile without two forms of residence, proof of residence. What's proof of residence? Proof of mail. What is that? Proof of jurisdiction of operating in federal territory. So you are a U.S. citizen. You are in fact holding the office of the artificial person. You are in fact a U.S. citizen, meaning it's jurisdiction 101. So whenever you like look at a warrant or indictment, that's jurisdiction 101. Meaning that's how they get you the zip code, proof of residence, what you put on applications. And so for me, I'm not doing this to argue tickets. I'm doing this for the big stuff. And the element of denying jurisdiction at the point where, because when you go through our living in the private process, it's not just denying jurisdiction on the actual application by signing a certain form or a certain way on that form, whether digital or paper. In our DMV documents that we produce for our living in the private members, we explain the trust element very clearly, very lawfully. We've had attorneys review our stuff and go, okay, all right, that's cool. Because when you're understanding that this is a trust, this isn't a contract, it's not an offer. There's a form of an offer, there's a form of acceptance, there is no consideration, there's no performance, there's no full disclosure. And so it doesn't meet the criteria of a normal contract, but it for sure meets the criteria of a trust. It's got the grantor, meaning the creator of the application, the public franchise known as the DMV. It's got the beneficiary, which is also the state. If I do this, I do this, I pay this. If I do this, I pay this. If I do this, I serve this amount of time, and the bond gets charged, and the state makes the money. So they are absolutely trusts, and you're self-executing them. So guess what? Because they didn't fully disclose certain elements within that agreement, quote unquote, trust, adhesion trust, there's certain things that you could do to create a new administrative process to privately create a new agreement for you as a living man and cancel the agreement for what you have done on your existing application, meaning you already have a license, you didn't sign, you didn't reserve your rights. This is a way to benefit you and have a narrative in which you can say, no, I created a new agreement with the DMV. Now, there's all kinds of people that try to bring private side remedies into court, and they don't know what the heck they are doing. There's all kinds of people that want to exhaust an administrative process, meaning take the federal rules of procedure on how you would gain a summary judgment within federal court. That's basically what we did. We took the process that you do within federal court to get a summary judgment, and we privatize that in the private. And it's the same thing they do on a non-judicial foreclosure. They send a notice, they send an opportunity to cure, pay us, they send a notice of sale. That's hey, if you don't pay up, we're going to default you. And then they do a sale, and then they have it on the courthouse steps, and then they take your stuff. Nothing inside of a court. Nothing has been done lawfully. It's all been done legally, but it was done using an administrative process, exhausted on the private side, right? There's no different in what we're doing. See, they didn't do fully informed consent. They didn't tell us we were not a U.S. citizen to start, that we were becoming surety and collateral for the debt of a corporation and their bad behavior. They didn't tell us state citizenship existed. It wasn't a choice on the application. It wasn't a choice. It's not a choice on the passport stuff. But why do we get passports issued and we've fully done a denial to being a United States citizen under the pains and penalties of perjury? Why? Because there's a thing called state citizenship with 1,000 cases to substantiate and support it. I personally have 100 with probably 40 or 50 shepherdized, meaning we've gone through them and checked them. I need one. I need one to show state citizenship exists. That's it. But we got 40. Okay. We actually have 100, but 40 are shepherdized, meaning they're still active law today. I'm sure there's thousands. They don't even define certain words in Black's law and these various different things because they don't want people to know. So if you didn't get a chance on this application, there's not informed consent, there's fraud. It's from the very beginning in the factum, and you have the ability to pull your signature off as a living man, but you also have the ability to put yourself in a trustee position or beneficial interest position on a particular trust. And we always want to move ourselves. And this is the narrative of the Form 56 with the IRS. Well, there's that same narrative that you can do on any trust indenture. If you do not agree with something, you reshape it. And if they want to respond and deny your ability to do that, they're more than welcome to point by point deal with what you're stating. Otherwise, you're going to take a federal rule of procedure, you're going to exhaust your administrative process in the private, and you're going to take your completed paperwork, fully exhausted administrative process, put it in the public and serve them with notice. And they still don't do nothing. Why is that? Well, now you've completed the process. It's in the public. They had opportunity to rebut the presumption. They did not. This is why we do this. It's because it just makes them leave you alone. They don't want to confirm anything. They don't want to support you. They're not going to come to your house and say, congratulations, you figured it out, Mr. Smith. Really appreciate the opportunity to, grease you for the last 50 years. But, now that you've got to figure out, here's your black card. And you're gonna skirt the metal detector at the airport. Don't worry about it. We trust you. None of that stuff happens. I love hearing other gurus out there and the stuff that they say. We're just simply becoming state citizens, and because of the way that they have gained jurisdiction and gained access over the people, and they didn't do full disclosure on it, this is how we're able to do what we are able to do. And it's very effective in its form. And it's the only solution that's out there. There's no thing like there is a state national, there is an American national, but you're making allegiance to DC when you do that. And so the Supreme Court didn't talk about them. They talked about state of the union citizens, and it's being directly underneath God. So if you don't believe in God, that's fine. But guess what? To be a state citizen, to be an American, you're basically saying there is a creator, there is a sovereign, and that you are self-governed. So no matter what, you're going to believe. If you want to be a state citizen, you have to believe, at least on paper, and make allegiance to the Declaration of Independence. And that's how we do it. Long answer. Are you knowledgeable enough to assist in pursuing law enforcement for operating outside of their jurisdiction for damages? Yeah, but I'm not. There's just too much time in that, and it's ridiculous. Those Title 42s they can work. There are people that know how to do them. There are people that sue and gain awards for law enforcement operating outside of the jurisdiction. My goal is to free people. There's too much going on in the element of a case to take my time up, even as much as freeing a kid. It's just so much work that needs to be done, and so much that makes me not want to take that on for anybody or anything. But the element of jurisdiction, and meaning from a standpoint of a law enforcement officer going outside of their oath of office, that's 101. There are many people that have had their butts handed to them. And I'm going to tell you right now, they had assistance. They knew how to, they have to exhaust their administrative process on the private side first. I'd say that one of the best guys that has ever done this out there is Rodney Roseanne. He's the only guy that he was a law enforcement officer. He had his butt handed to him. He was suspended. While he was suspended, they wrote lies about him to get him fired. And upon being going through a massively long court battle and getting to the other side, he ended up getting his front door kicked in by sheriffs, his own kind. So he sued the sheriffs, sued the city, sued LAX, sued everybody, and he won. But he did it the way we do it, which is exhausting the private side remedy first. And he did it and it took him like 1,000 pages. Listen, this is why we don't help. It's just too much. These guys know it. They know that you're screwed, glued, and tattooed. And if you don't know who you are and you're not able to defend yourself, they know it. They're playing games with us, and it's unfortunate, but there are things that you can do to go after the bond of an individual almost immediately. There's complaints that could be made. There's all kinds of things. And if you want a copy of what we would suggest to follow from a procedural standpoint, and your VIP member, just go and ask for it on what to do. And I would give you a copy of something that would help you understand the workload that it would take to get it accomplished, because attorneys really aren't going to help you, as you know, and you got to go from the bottom to the top and then sue. And that's the process that makes it very difficult. I'm concerned a gift to Tim Turner might be confiscated. No, it would not. I would love for you to be able to do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to raise funds for him again and give his direct information where he's at in an email probably in the next 2 days. So just hang on, David. I appreciate your heart. Everything we've been given, he gets 100% of, well, minus a small fee, but he was extremely appreciative of our last request to members to help him out. So please don't let that worry you. He'll get it, and we'll get you the proper address to send it to. Thank you. Does the foundation need to file for its W-9s since there are no taxes to pay? Meaning a W-9 that the foundation may receive from somebody else? Absolutely not. There's no requirement for you to file a tax return, even if you receive a W-9 from a quote unquote company. But on that note, when we provide a foundation, we provide a very specific W-9, and you would understand from a jurisdictional standpoint, it still supports your position in the private. Joseph asks, how do you get your business bank account approved with the private foundation in a foreign country all over the world? Brother, I can't answer that. I don't know how banks operate all over the world. But I know that notarization on signature cards would be sufficient through mail to open up foreign jurisdiction accounts on a private side account. So you would maybe find a bank or find somebody that can help you with translation. Obviously, you speak English just fine. But find a bank, give them a call, or shoot an email to their accounts manager. Say, I have a private membership association. I'm in China currently. I have formal identification. I have a tax ID number. I have the entity already dialed up. It's got an American address. And just say, what are your requirements for establishing a bank account? And I'm sure they'll be able to help you. You may have to shop it, but I can't give you a blanket answer. But 100% of the people that have foundations through our ministry that are in this nation are able to establish accounts. Has anybody gotten a diplomatic card successfully that you know? So, I've had people out there say they've gotten different color passports, and so I'll grab my wallet and I'll pull $1,000 out of, or just verbally offer $1,000. I don't have $1,000 in my wallet, but I flat out will call them out on it. Anybody that says they have a diplomatic ID or diplomatic immunity or card, there's only been one person on the private side who had it, and it wasn't from this nation. It was from another nation, and it worked. And he set up his house as a consulate. He set up his car in the private, and it said consul right on the plates, and diplomat. And then he had passport from that country approved in the United States, diplomat. And there's just nothing they could have ever done to him. Why can't we get that here? Is, well, you're not a diplomat. You're basically applying to be a state of the union citizen, which in essence is like having diplomatic immunity, meaning the statutes, codes, and ordinances do not apply to state of the union citizens. These are Supreme Court rulings that have established that the United States is foreign within respect to the state, meaning the people, or the state of the union people. And so it's I would love to be able to have that opportunity to give people diplomatic immunity, but in essence, we already are. We're just not giving a card or a black card or a black anything, and showing diplomatic immunity. So when I get a driver's license, just signing a non-assumption will protect jurisdiction. Let me ask you a question. The question I would ask is, from what? Because if you're saying that I'm going to go out and commit crime or Title 18 offenses, and you don't know who you are in court, or you don't know how to rebut the presumption of jurisdiction, or you don't know how to do a specific notice, special notice of appearances without actually appearing generally or specifically. If you don't know who you are, what we're giving you is a layer of Kevlar. And that is without a doubt the best layer of Kevlar that you're going to wear versus going up on a driver's license and simply signing. But it's not just signing the driver's license in a certain form or format. It's our DMV documents that we do for the living and the private members. And to have an exhausted administrative process with the DMV where no presumptions were rebutted, it's called a tacit consent in a court. And if you know how to perform upon a defaulted administrative process within court, guess what? You win. So there's more to it than that loose question. And I want to be very specific and clear, because it's a loose question that can get these lips in trouble. But I am telling you, we fail for a lack of knowledge. This is one level of Kevlar that we do for people, just one. And the whole living in the private program, from the passport process as a state citizen, all the way down through all of our adhesion trusts that we do. And for me to come back and say, oh yeah, you're protected just for signing non-assumption on a driver's license, and then you use it to hold up a bank, and then you run out and you leave your wallet, and then they go and find you, and then they arrest you, and you go and try to rebut the presumption of jurisdiction. You haven't done anything. First and foremost, you're a criminal. You know what I mean? You should go to jail. You battered somebody, you robbed from somebody, you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm not here to help people that are trying to do things to get out of trouble. I'm not here to help people that have tax issues and are trying to get out of whatever. That is just a byproduct of what we do. We just remove you from the tax rolls. It just happens because it's called a notice of status, and you fault them and default them. You're doing a, there's three different things we're doing with the IRS, three different things we're doing with the DMV, and it works. But that's a very loose question, and I really want people to understand it's one of the things that we do with the DMV, and that's an important consideration. And then down the road, it's your understanding of how to operate in the ins and outs of public and private, and that's where we all could always grow. And I think that this ministry is 100% moving towards the element of enforcement and the element of private side remedy in a public side position like court. We shouldn't even be in court. Oh, I understand what you're saying. If the diplomatic card is the diplomat card, the only way to not pay sales tax. You're talking about a card that you walk into a store with and you show them that you're a non-resident of the United States and therefore you are not required to pay taxes. Anybody can make that up, and Walmart and all those agencies would honor that, if done right, obviously. But I know a lot of people that have done that. you should make an LPP document regarding that for the LPP members. Regarding what specifically? So if I get, hold on. So if I get a new driver's license signed non-assumptive, will I need to mail them another set of default LPP docs? I would. It's a new number. I would. 100%. Good question. Yeah, it's just a presumption that you need to clear up and let them give an opportunity to respond on. All right.
You
Go
do
ahead.
have one more question that I added to Wire.
Okay. So if you go into the private and get paid through your foundation at your job, do you still get HR benefits? Do you mean health benefits? Because HR benefits are different than health benefits. No, you would not get health benefits. However, Tim, we have private health insurance that you can enroll at any time into a private group policy that is really good. And they accept any existing conditions. I know, crazy, but we have it. And we're the only entity out there marketing this or that have this. And you can look on hisadvocates.org or the YouTube channel. And we have videos out that have explained it's one of the subscription categories or whatever. It's one of the list categories that we put 3 videos explaining everything. And then also we have a specific page to the health insurance. Let me grab it for you real quick. And I'll post it both to the YouTube site where people can get a better understanding of all the benefits and costs. And what's crazy is the older you are and the fees don't go up. I've never seen a plan like this. I used to do health insurance as a agent, very young age, but I'm posting it here to the comments. You can go and read up on it and get the stuff. I'm also going to post it to the YouTube comments. So if anybody has, and I'm gonna hit the questions on the YouTube side in just a minute. I see them. I haven't really looked in the YouTube questions for a bit, so give me just a minute. I promise I'll get to them. Does TT have, yes. Does TT have a website? Yes, he does. Again, I'll send it, just join hisadvocates.org. I'm going to send off an email to all the members requesting a personal request to donate to him, and you mail it directly to him. Make a contextualized LPP document regarding who the State of the Union citizen is, how to rebut presumption, all the basic essentials. I am. It's a great statement and question. I'm writing a book. I'm 200 and some odd pages into it. It's very detailed, and it's a lot of time, and it's 4 or 5 years in the making. But it's not overnight, and I want to perfect it. So we'll get there. Have you seen agents honor the do not detain requirements in your paperwork? We have testimonies of state citizens all the time getting let go by people that are running their passports, or this is their own verbiage to us. When getting a new driver's license, should I submit the old driver's license? I don't think it matters. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Okay, so I want to get to the YouTube questions. 1 second. Work with me, guys, on YouTube. Give me just a second. I'm not used to ins and outs over here. Hold on. Is there no real money? How can your passport payment give freedom? Somebody on YouTube typed a question. If there's no real money, how can your passport payment give you freedom? Everything is in an application, period. I do understand, this is a passport that belongs to them, the Department of State, the United States of America. But when you understand the elements of jurisdiction and you challenge subject matter jurisdiction in a court case, you're going to realize you're going to be confronted with every application that you filled out to show that you checkboxed U.S. citizen across the board. On our passport applications, that is completely handled, obviously, and we are rebutting those presumptions. And the type of payment that is submitted is a mere formality, and it's not granting jurisdiction under the collective entity doctrine because we're using an FRN per se. Hope that helps. So, are we already free through the blood of Christ? Great question. Are we already free through the blood of Christ? 100%. However, Christ, God himself in Revelations and other Old Testament says, come out of her, my free people, my people, because we are operating under a structure and a system that by our pledges and by our donations, we're acknowledging the whore. We are giving into a structural system that is demonic in nature, and because of that we fail for lack of knowledge, and we are, according to Revelations 18:4, going to partake in the plagues. But those who come out, meaning God's people who are already free in Christ spiritually, have this opportunity physically to come out and not go through the plague offerings. It's funny, I'm going to tell you right now, guys, public and private, it could be construed as a very simple, loose term. Public is a created thing by them that we are offering our pledges, our corporations, our money, our titles, our children through birth certificates. We're offering everything into the public, and that they own, they control. When you register, you're putting it into a registrar, you're giving them your assets, period. And when you are making payments to the IRS, you are pledging to demonic structures that make $2 trillion annually disappear. Now, $38 trillion since 2001 has now been unaccounted for at the Pentagon. Not me just stating this. Go look this stuff up. And I believe that God is doing a major work here through his believers to come out. And I want you to understand that every element of coming out is your personal, you're not supposed to be pledging yourself as surety for anything. So I'm going to ask you a question. Why would a believer get a driver's license pledging themselves as surety as the U.S. citizen against the debt of the nation? Why would they do that? They don't know any better. They fail for a lack of knowledge. Why would a believer who's free under Christ make themselves surety through every adhesion contract that they have under the state and federal governments? It's because they fail for a lack of knowledge. All we're trying to do is make clear that it's because of those adhesion contracts, and it's because you're surety in the collateral that they think they have the right to do forced things to you, forced injections, forced whatever. And this is coming down the pike very soon. Against many people. So I would suggest that one thing is freedom. And we always talk about this. We talked about it this morning on the prayer call. First and foremost, we want to free you spiritually. That's our goal. I'm going to publicly say it. I want to free people spiritually in Christ. There's nothing more important than your eternal position, period. But there's a cool place to be in the physical. And that's as a state citizen, which, by the way, not saying you need to be a Christian to be a state citizen, but God gave us something pretty special. Your acknowledgement of God as the sovereign on the Declaration of Independence gives you a right to be a State of the Union citizen here on the land, and the protections of God right here on the land through man's law, which is an amazing thing. Yeah, Alpha and more. I'm sorry I didn't answer your questions right away. Normally we're over here on a Zoom call and hisadvocates.org. So if you want every other Monday at 4 p.m., we'll give you I'll give you a live link right now that you can come back to, and and register for. And then you'll get a notice and you can come and join us if you have more questions. So there's the link right there. All right, next question. I noticed the Secretary of State of Michigan has a non-citizen national certification for when you do the federal side. You can do the stateside size county. Is that public notice? Just asking. So whenever a federal or state agency is offering you anything as a state national or national of the United States or non-citizen national, those are all found under various sites within United States Code. The main one is 8 USC 1101, 821, and 822. National and national of the United States. I have another video that I just did that I just posted recently within the last month, I think, where I show that a national is allegiance to DC, 100%. So a non-citizen national is allegiance to DC and one of its territories only. And I get it, why a lot of people are touting it and promoting it and pushing it. It's because they don't know. I didn't know about 8 years ago either. And I thought I understood everything. And I was that guy. But I got humbled. I'll be honest, I got humbled. I'm like, oh my gosh, that word national isn't on the Declaration of Independence. It's not on any Supreme Court rulings. It's not synonymous with state citizenship. I have no idea why these people out there are saying state national, and then they use state citizenship cases on their affidavits. I have no idea. Why don't you just say state citizen? Why are you making allegiance to 8 USC 1101, 821? Because when you do that, you're saying, I agree that I am on federal territory. That's all you're saying. And that is jurisdiction 101. So these corporate state governments that are offering these certificates of non-citizen nationals are actually tricking you into governance and jurisdiction over you. I know. Sucks. Another great question. How do the Amish travel without a passport? A holy Bible. Yeah, 100%. They're being tricked into getting driver's licenses and into getting different things, into getting turn signals, licenses, plates for their buggies. I mean, they're getting tricked into jurisdiction, and their elders are actually getting tricked into honoring their government by lying to them about Romans 13 and what the application of Romans 13 and 2 Peter 2:13 actually say. So I've seen it. You can travel with any ID you want. You get held up like crazy. And so you can get the gold pass, the global ID, that's the gold pass, or you can get the Bible, and you'll be there for hours. They're going to ask for all kinds of proof, but they ultimately will let you travel. That's how the Amish travel. I'm new to the channel. What is the living in the private? Sorry if my question seems redundant. Living in the private basically is becoming a state citizen, but dealing with all the elements that takes: employment, being able to operate your business, convert your business into the private, convert your cars into the private, convert your home into the private, convert yourself, meaning get rid of it's level 9. I'm looking for water. It's level 9 ability to asset protection, because we're helping you place things into private unincorporated foundations that nobody has jurisdiction over but you. And we're helping place you under God as a state citizen directly, where they don't have jurisdiction over you, period. These are Supreme Court rulings. This isn't Kelby. It's just there's a process that has to be done. And so if you want, go to hisadvocates.org, start exploring it. We have some videos that you can watch, and it'll help you get it more clear. We also have full-on diagrams and things that outline what we do. But it's at length to learn this process, because there's a lot going on and a lot of things that are said to the contrary to try to get you tricked. And so you have to really dig in and study and just be a good steward. Try to prove everything I say wrong. Try to prove it all wrong. And you'll always circle around to the law and Supreme Court rulings that will substantiate the stuff coming out of my mouth. Okay. Next question. What do you think of the UCC1 process using irrevocable common law trust, aka AA's process? AA's, I don't know who that is. I do know what the UCC1 process is. I do understand the common law trust. And are you talking about the element of charging or discharging of debt? A little more of a better question would be helpful. And whatever AA is, please. Many Amish have DOT license plates for buggies in Indiana. Yeah, it sucks, man. I hate that. When already answered that one. Can you post 40 Shepherd Eyes? I already have. It's on the video. Who are you? On my channel. Who are you? There's a bunch of Shepherd Eyes Supreme Court cases on that video. What equipment do you use for filming while driving? For now, right here. That's it. AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. Let me reread your question. AKA this process. What do you think about these processes in irrevocable? Let me trust, AKA Alcohol Anonymous process. I would need to know more about that process specifically, but I know all about the UCC1 process as it means for an SBC and all of that. But Americans Assembly, some clown over here wrote Alcoholic Anonymous. Yeah, America's Assembly. I got it. So I don't want to put anything down of what people are doing out there to try to get to freedom. I really don't. The David Straits, the Anna Von Wrights, I don't know who they are personally. I've never met them personally, so I can't form a personal judgment. The elements of being an American national, state national, which they all teach, I don't agree with. I have to say that. That's just me. What they're doing in the elements of assemblies and different things like that, I'm 100% behind an assembly. What they are teaching people that they have power over within the assembly, I'm not behind at all. You cannot cross jurisdictions over into corporations, into districts, into federal territories like federal courthouses, state courthouses, and make orders to corporations that you have no jurisdiction over. There's just some things that I'd have to talk through with you guys to help you understand. But I think the assemblies are where it's all at, and then redeveloping the de jure counties one county at a time. That is 100% a fact, and I'm behind any group, the AA groups, 100%. But the Republic has been re-inhabited, and now the counties need to be re-inhabited one at a time. So that's all I got time for today, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this. I have to get ready for a potential VIP show. I might move it to Wednesday, but I got to get off right now and get ready for that decision to be made. God bless. Thank you so much. Next week from Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific, I do this, answer all the questions, and I'll start answering the YouTube questions live again. I appreciate your time, man. God bless. Have a great